Welcome in to Yahoo Sports Daily. Happy Friday. And while the weekend is among us, maybe there's a long LeBron James decision that's among us. We've been saying that for weeks, but a girl can dream. He is Justin Walters. I am Caroline Fenton. Justin in for Jason Fitz today. So we are all on LeBron Watch. We have been, we will continue to be, and we are leaving no stone unturned. Trust me. I feel like we've been putting our trusty little FBI hat on, trying to find every single little clue that could lead us to where LeBron James may go. So, with the clues that we have found, with the clues that may or may not be out there, we're going to play a game that we like to play here on Yahoo Sports Daily called Something, Nothing, or Everything. We'll look at little social media clues and we'll decide, is this absolutely everything? Is it nothing? We're not even worried about it. Is there a little something there? So let's start with this soundbite here. This is Bronny James, who was kind enough to chat with a fan in the streets. Take a look at listen to this.
What's a motivational message to the youth?
Man, just be you, man. Go
Just
out
be you?
anytime you got some pressure or whatever, just be you. Go out and be you, and you're gonna be all right.
And last thing, you think your dad going to the Warriors?
Man, I don't know where you're
Come on,
going,
bro.
but I'd be crazy if you did. Yes,
All
sir.
right.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I
Appreciate you, bro.
Sure.
I don't know if I've heard very many sound bites from Bronny James. He sounds exactly like his dad. Like, I can close
Exactly.
my eyes and think that that's LeBron James. Obviously, he didn't give too much away there. He's got a great poker face. He is media trained, no doubt. What Bronny James said there is that something, nothing, or everything to you, Justin.
For me, it has to be something, Caroline. And the reason why is because this is one of the first times that we're hearing from somebody in LeBron's camp besides Rich Paul. Rich Paul did his full Kellerman on their podcast about the teams he possibly could go to and why they'd be intriguing to him. But here's what I really want to know. Does Bronny James even know where his dad is going? When is he going to find out this news? Is he going to learn in real time like all of us? I doubt that. I would assume LeBron would have a probably family meeting. Think of it like a mafioso boss. Sit down with Savannah, Zuri, and all the kids, Bryce and Bronny, and say like, all right, fam, this is where I'm going. This is the decision. Savannah probably definitely knows, but I don't know if Bronny really knows. But another reason, Caroline, why this is something is because of his reaction at the end. Now we know the three possible destinations are Philadelphia, Cleveland, and Miami. But the question that the streamer threw out to Bronny James was about the Warriors. And Bronny said, quote, that'd be crazy. So I know a lot of people think that if there is a fourth destination, we're seeing some reports about the Warriors trying to make some moves and sway Bronny to their way. And Draymond has even spoken about the podcast if he would play with him. It sounds like it sounds like LeBron isn't going to be going to Golden State at all. That is why it sounds like they're not a viable suitor. What did you think?
This is nothing to me because we've already heard from Rich Paul that there were three destinations: Philadelphia, Cleveland, and Miami. That's coming directly from LeBron James. That's coming directly from his agent. So that I put more weight into than Bronny saying that would be crazy. Because I think my reaction to LeBron and even just the possibility of LeBron going to Golden State, I think my reaction would be the same. I think I would say, man, that'd be crazy. And I think we kind of do this too when we're all so desperate for information, like we are in LeBron Watch. We all are. I am too. When we're just grabbing on to any sort of teeny tiny little breadcrumb that might lead us in the right direction, we overanalyze the little bits that we might get. Because all Bronny said there was, that'd be crazy. Bronny James has been media trained since the moment he entered this earth. From the moment Bronny James could talk and walk, he was media trained. He's been living in the LeBron world as long as he's been alive. And we know that everyone in the corner is going to be tightened up, buttoned up, not going to leak the information, allowing LeBron James to do his thing, to go about his business, whether it's an announcement, whether it's basketball, whatever. So I don't think that Bronny James is really giving us too much there. I also don't think he's giving us anything that we didn't already know, that Rich Paul didn't already tell us directly from the mouth of LeBron James. Okay. Let's get crazier. I feel like we're, that It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia meme when he's like bloodshot eyes and trying to connect all the dots here. So Cavs Muse on Twitter with this screenshot here. shows that Draymond Green's mom, that's what we're talking about, Draymond Green's mom's Instagram following. Draymond Green's mom follows the Cavs official account on Instagram. Who does she not follow on Instagram? The Warriors official account. Something, nothing, everything. Did she give away the plan as Draymond headed to Cleveland?
All right, I think there were only two really viable answers. It's either something or nothing. And I keep going back and forth, but I lean to it's something. It gives you cause to pause. So you spoke about starting this segment. We're going to be FBI. One of my favorite inspectors was Inspector Gadget. So I put
Of
my
course.
Inspector Gadget hat on. I did my best to do a deep dive on social media. I went to Draymond's mom's social media. And unfortunately, on Instagram, as you know, Caroline, the way that it's set up, you cannot see most recently followed unless you're the owner of an account. You can't see that for people that you do follow. So, like yourself, we both found out that he follows, or pardon, she follows a bunch of other Warriors Talks accounts. While it may not be the official team, if we're really thinking deep about this, anytime we're fishing for breadcrumbs from someone in Gen X on what they're doing on social media, I think we've lost our way because she may have tapped us by mistake. Who knows how long she's been following them? I lean to something because I'm like, all right, I'm interested about this story. It's feeding the algorithm for now, but yeah, I don't think it's that much.
It would be something to me if, to your point, you could see when someone follows an account. And if she followed the Cavs within the last week, then I would say, okay, there's a little something something there. But there's a chance that Draymond Green's mom followed the Cavs when they played the Cavs in the 2016 finals, and she just wanted to stay up to date with what her son's team's opponent was saying and putting out on social media. There is a chance that maybe the Cavs posted about Draymond or about the Warriors several years ago, and she said, "Oh, I'm going to follow them." It could be as simple as that. I don't think Draymond Green's mom, and I don't know how old she is, but I would say maybe from a generation that is not the most social media savvy. I don't think that she has this crazy ulterior motive plan about, giving away hints of where Draymond Green might go. Since we don't know when she followed them, I can't put too much weight into it. And also, she follows like Lakers fan accounts. She follows like four different Warriors fan accounts. Like I took some time yesterday and I was just scrolling through who she's been following, and if it was only the Cavs, and that was like the only NBA related team that NBA related account that she followed, that I would put more weight into this. But to me, no, it's nothing. Maybe she's just a Cavs fan at heart. No. All right, let's keep it going. So let's just live in a world.
All right.
Draymond Green gets traded to the Cavs. In a world. Maybe it's a sign and trade for Jared Allen. You see us here. It's always funny in Philadelphia, meme intensifies. Why people think that? Well, let's go back into our handy dandy Instagram following bag. Jared Allen unfollowed the Cavs on Instagram. Something, nothing, everything.
Nothing. From what I know from Jared Allen during my brief time covering him when he was a member of the Brooklyn Nets and now as the Cavs and everything I read up on him, this is a guy that isn't going to be infatuated or using all of his time on the screen on his phone. He's a guy that likes sci-fi movies. He even occasionally juggles. He likes to do woodwork. He'll do stuff that is a little bit more off kilter, like maybe even build a computer. He's one of those people that actually likes to enjoy outside and just being present in his current time. I don't see Jared Allen as someone being petty. We're really diving deep. I understand. We're looking for any type of breadcrumb that's left, Caroline, but this ain't it. Jared Allen is not giving us a sign or hint that Draymond Green may come over there because he's unfollowing them and he's petty. Nah, this ain't it.
Like this, just an indication of where we are in the world when you say he's that kind of guy that like has hobbies and likes to go outside. Like, oh my gosh, the fact that that's like a unique trait about somebody is so sad. And you're not wrong. I did some digging when I saw this because it feels like social media is now a way for players to kind of use their leverage, unfollowing the team account, taking the team's name out of your bio, just doing whatever you can to drum up, fan engagement and fan maybe anger. We've seen this all the time. We see it in football, we see it in baseball, we see it in basketball. So I did some digging and I found some Cavs Reddit threads, which it's true if it's on Reddit, right? But apparently, Jared Allen did this a couple of years ago. Like, this kind of caused a tizzy amongst Cavs fans, I think like 2 years ago, or maybe a few years ago when he was negotiating his new contract, that he did the same thing. So, because of that, I say it's nothing. And also because we just see athletes doing this a lot, flexing their whatever muscle or leverage muscle that they might have and drumming up interest on social media. So I say nothing on that one. While we're evaluating little breadcrumbs from social media, maybe Markieff Morris knows something that we don't know. He tweeted this yesterday. Quote, Harden to Phoenix, Jalen Green to Cleveland, LeBron to Cleveland. Okay, Markieff once played for the Suns. James Harden has connections to the Valley. He played at Arizona State. What does Markieff Morris know? Is that something, nothing, or everything?
Another nothing burger. He knows absolutely nothing. The last time I checked, Markieff Morris is not a newsbreaker. He's not Shams. He's not Woj. He's not any of these other insiders. He's not Kevin O'Connor's. I don't think that he has any information and he's not privy to what is taking place in LeBron's camp. Now, what I do understand that Markieff is doing is he's feeding the algorithm. We're all on the LeBron indecision watch. We want to know what's actually going to take place. So he's riding the wave because he understands everybody is on the edge of their seats. So you know what? Let me just drop this bold prediction in there without actually citing any possible sources. This is what I think that's happening. And guess what? Caroline, we're speaking about it. Numerous other outlets have spoken about what does Markieff know? Okay, I mean, everyone has an opinion. And as someone told me before, a lot of people have them and a lot of them stink.
Not wrong about that. Yeah, this is nothing to me because, like you said, on social media, you can put out whatever you want. If you're an Adam Schefter, if you're a KOC, if you're a Shams, people go to your Twitter account for real, actual information. That is your job. That is your livelihood, is to put out accurate information. That's not the case with Markieff Morris. For all we know, he could just be throwing out fun, random, scenarios that he thought could be an idea in his mind. And also, after our dear friend of the show, Pat Bev, told us that LeBron James was signing on Monday, and then LeBron James did not sign on Monday. I don't know how much I'm going to believe the insiders of former NBA players. So this is, again, nothing to me. And I hate poo-pooing all of this. I think I've said nothing to all of these things. But once we get the answers, Justin, it'll be like, oh, of course, that was everything. How did we not know it at the time? I just have to sift through and filter through the information as we have it. Last but not least, though, KOC reported on Wednesday that if LeBron was going to choose the Heat, quote, he would have already done it by now. The theory that the Heat are out, is that something, nothing, or everything to you?
That's nothing to me. Now, the reason why I say that is because I don't agree with it. I think the real reason why that LeBron and his team are dragging this out is because he loves attention. He knows that there's nothing else going on in sports. Yes, we have festivity going on for the W, but everyone is locked into this. In addition to the ladies of the W, we all are interested about where LeBron is going to be making his decision. Adam Silver wants him to make this decision. I still think there's a possibility of conversations being had. Rich Paul threw out there, if you're interested in LeBron, you don't have to do anything else to sway him. We're going to find out where he's going to be going. That doesn't mean that conversations are going to be closed off. I still think that something could be happening. It's like the Brian Windhorst, like, what's going on? What's going on?
Now, why would he do that? It's one of my favorite memes of all time. This is something to me because it takes me a little bit of a peek behind the curtain of LeBron's thought process. If LeBron does pick Miami in the end, LeBron can say that it was Miami all along. But KOC's reporting here leads me to believe that Maybe Miami is just the consolation prize. Maybe Miami is his backup. Maybe Cleveland is his preferred landing spot, but he wants Cleveland to make certain roster moves. That he says, I want, let's just live in a hypothetical world, whether it is in fact Draymond. And then all of a sudden his mom following the Cavs makes so much sense. Maybe it is moving on from James Harden and bringing in AD. I don't know. All of these things that we've heard thrown around as possibilities. And maybe the Cavs are working on those things behind the scenes, and that's what's delaying the decision. Maybe those deals don't get done. And LeBron says, okay, thanks, but no thanks. Miami looks like a more legitimate contender than you guys. So I'm going to go to Miami. So this is something to me. And it does make the timeline make sense. Because I've believed, okay, maybe LeBron is waiting on the World Cup to end. Maybe LeBron is waiting for a lull in the like a dead period in the sports calendar. Well, let me look at my watch. It's now. So if LeBron was waiting for a lull in the sports calendar, wouldn't he have announced his decision at least by now?
I don't know. I feel like it's in his camp's benefit to just have everybody clamor in on this story. I think the Heat are still a viable option, and I would even call them a consolation prize. I think people want to know what's taking place, and I think because the more buildup you have and the excitement, there's no rush for him to say, like, okay, I need to go here. Like, let it drag out. I think next week. That is my prediction. I think possibly next week.
Fingers crossed, it is next week, and we shall all stay on LeBron Watch in the process. All right, we'll take a break here. Coming up next, we will catch up with the queen of the 312, Leila Rahimi, talks all things Caleb W.
My sister told me, be careful what you wish for because you might get it. I did. And now it's about, well, what goals are, what's left on the table? I want Street Fighter to be a massive success. I want to do more Guile, but also I want to do more film. I want to do more TV. There's seats on, on the Georgia political scene that are open. Is that a road? Or is this the road to stay with something I love so much like wrestling? And I love this. I don't know how I'd say bye to it.
Sharks down 10. Third down and 10 from the 19. Edwards steps up. Now he's in trouble. And Edwards sacked. Back at the 17. And once again, it's Devontae O'Malley. And flipped into the end zone. Touchdown. A thing of beauty. DeLaurent for Murray with a late pitch over the top, end over end. And a Pirates touchdown.
If you are a check writer at one of these places that has achieved success historically in college football, and you are ideologically opposed to your check going directly to Rev, to paying the players, with the ideology of, well, we didn't have to do this back when. When you hear we didn't used to have to do this amongst boosters, go ahead and order the gravestone for your football program.
Still Barnes in there. No Jared Ware on this drive yet. Roberts against the blitz. Goes to the end zone for Keon Williams. Easy as you like. 16-yard touchdown.
There's Keon Williams. Tried to go to him in the last drive on that fourth down play to the end zone. Good defense by Orlando, but that time able to shake free to the corner.
Kevin Garnett says he attended the Lakers Bulls Summer League game to watch Caleb Wilson, who has recently been getting some KG comparisons. KG says he calls Wilson, quote, the little ticket. I love that. Big ticket, always showing love to the youngins. Respect that there from Legion Hoops. So joining us now to break down Caleb Wilson, Caleb Williams, and all things Chicago sports is Leila Rahimi. You can find her middays from 10 to 2 p.m. in Chicago on 104.3 The Score. Kind enough to join us this morning on an early morning in Chicago. Leila, thanks so much for being here. How much have you guys been talking about the quote little ticket and maybe some Caleb Wilson mania going down for Bulls fans?
Well, thanks for having me. And yeah, first things first, we're still trying to debate the little ticket name. We decided on our show, Rahimi, Harris, and Grody, that if you're a Hall of Famer, if you're Teresa Weatherspoon, Kevin Garnett, little ticket's okay. But Caleb Wilson, I think, called himself 8-ball corner pocket whenever he made the All-Summer League first team. So we're still debating what to do. Regardless, the rim running that he has and just the passion that he's brought for a lot of Bulls fans to just get excited about Summer League is really undeniable.
Yeah, it certainly has been. And it's been amazing to see how well he's been able to transition, even though it's just a small sample size. So it's safe to say that the Bulls have fallen on tough times since MJ has left. But now that they have another player by the way of UNC, do Bulls fans believe that Caleb Wilson is going to be their savior?
I think they want to see a new turn for the franchise. We got to see that 6 years ago with Arturas Karnisovas and Mark Eversley. There was a lot of hope when they had that 4th overall pick. We saw it net Patrick Williams, who has not produced the way they wanted. They did sign him to that second contract. But there is a lot of hope when it comes to just what Caleb Wilson brings. He's referenced Michael Jordan a lot. He understands the gravity of MJ's pull, the statue that's in the United Center, respects the legacy that is here. But Bulls fans are true basketball fans, and they know ball, and they are very excited to see just the skill set that Caleb Wilson brings. He was the right draft pick at 4th overall, and that's something that we haven't been able to say for a long time. There's been a lot of projects, as we've seen. You know, Patrick Williams played in that Florida State system where he didn't see as much playing time as Caleb Wilson. This was the right pick, and that's such a big first step for what we're seeing right now.
A lot of buzz for Caleb Wilson, a whole lot of buzz for Caleb Williams and the Bears coming off of a postseason bid last year. From, you having kind of a pulse on the fan base in Chicago, which Caleb W do Chicago fans believe has the higher ceiling, Wilson or Williams?
I think right now it's still very much Caleb Williams just because of the hope and the hype and what we've seen. This is somebody who we think is making a lot of top 10 quarterback lists. And when you consider that his completion percentage was under 60% last season, to have that kind of moniker, to understand his arm talent and what the plays and structure could bring for his 3rd season in the league, the hope is still so high. And with him being a 1st overall pick, that's still very much the pedigree. We saw so much out of Caleb Williams, especially developing into the quarterback that he was, defining his performances in November and December into the playoffs, bringing the Bears their first playoff win in 15 years. I think it is still Caleb Williams, but make no mistake, excitement is still very big around Wilson and Williams.
It's a good time to be a Chicago fan right now. But if we stick more with Williams, wow, that playoff run last year, although ended short, some of those throws were absurd. It reminded you of Mahomes' magic. It was the reason why he got the Madden cover. Coming into this weekend, as you mentioned off camera to us about it kicking off, is it Super Bowl or bust this year for the Bears?
I don't think it's Super Bowl or bust yet because there is a bit of a patience curve when it comes to the fact that, for example, guys, once again, first playoff win in 15 years for this team last season. There's an understanding that the NFC North is going to get healthier. They're playing a first place schedule. Micah Parsons right now is scheduled to come online. The earliest time would be for that Bears and Packers game. So there's an understanding that the NFC North is still incredibly competitive. Bears had a losing record in that division last year. So I think right now it's still defend the North title, then go from there in a very tough NFC, as you guys, I think, can predict as well.
I loved the Ben Johnson hire when it happened. And with 1 year under his belt, getting Chicago to the postseason, you're one play away from beating the Rams in the playoffs. I think Chicago fans are loving the hire even more. What has been your early impression of Ben Johnson, and how much has he kind of raised the ceiling and the expectation for this Bear squad?
I mean, he's raised it exponentially, 1,000-fold. 10-fold is too kind. 100-fold is not even good enough. He had the resume coming in that we hadn't seen a Bears team hire in a very long time. It had been guys who had either gotten promoted from assistant jobs or maybe they had had a previous head coaching job before in John Fawkes. This was a guy who was the biggest name on the coaching cycle, and the respect came with it, not just from fans, but from players. Everybody respected his resume, and then he upped the ante even more. He rose the bar. He told us, last year at this time in training camp, he didn't like how his team was practicing. He said it again during the regular season. He set the standard every single time, and what's been better is that he's been able to meet it so far. You don't ever underestimate Ben Johnson. there's an utmost faith that he will find the way to make all of his talent around him work.
Yeah, and when you're speaking about some of that talent, I'm curious to get your thoughts with DJ Moore out of the picture. As we know, he's now a Buffalo Bill. That means more opportunities for Roma Dunze, maybe Loveland, or some of the younger pass catchers. Give it to me from a fantasy perspective. Who could be poised for a breakout?
I mean, that's the question, right? This is a Ben Johnson offense that we see spread the ball around. So maybe your fantasy numbers aren't as good as you want them to be. But DeAndre Swift, total yards from line of scrimmage, he had an excellent season for him, a career year. Could he do that again? I think Colson Loveland probably leads in receptions, but the issue is you might not have a situation where you have an overwhelming past the 1,000 yard mark receiver. That ball might get spread around quite a bit. So if you're looking for touchdowns, I think Loveland may be your guy. Luther Burden for yards, I think, is still your guy, maybe not total receptions. I think Luther Burden stands to really benefit. Ben Johnson loves a yak and rack offense. I'm hoping there's more screen game there. That's why I also like DeAndre Swift to rack up some more yards.
I love that. And I'm so optimistic about this Bears team this season. What I'm not optimistic about, though, is the location of Soldier Field. There has been the ongoing negotiations about, will the stadium stay in downtown Chicago? Will it move out to Indiana? What's the latest that you've heard on that? And what's the fan temperature on the future of Soldier Field?
Fans are appropriately skeptical. If you ask the local news stations, for example, the local NBC station did a survey of Chicago-based voters, and while they wanted the Bears to stay in Chicago, they didn't want to pay extra taxes for it. There's not a big appetite in the state of Illinois for public money for stadiums and other privately profited projects. The Bears bought the land in Arlington Heights. It's been sitting vacant now for more than 3 years. And to me, that's still the answer. Follow the money. On the Indiana side, they're still trying to figure out the tax structure. We've heard something from Porter County, which is part of the counties that are going to be taxed to build that stadium if it goes through in Indiana. And there's been pushback from the local politicians there in the electorate regarding whether or not they want to pay the taxes. Majority would come from Lake, as far as we understand. But I think even in Indiana right now, there's no set site yet. It's still very much in the beginning stages.
Follow the money. That is always where the breadcrumbs are. One more last one that before we get you out of here. It's a great time to be in Chicago right now. We mentioned the Bulls, we mentioned the Bears, but give some love also to the White Sox as well as Chicago Cubs. But if all of them are at their peak powers, all of them playing well, who do you think excites the city the most in Chicago?
It is Bears, man. There was nothing like last season to see how the city united. Saturday night, that regular season game when they beat the Packers, the city was electric. You could not go anywhere without people yelling, screaming, "Go Bears." It's a wonderful time right now with the White Sox being relevant, the Cubs being relevant. We're trying to see who's buyers at the trade deadline. We're excited about Caleb Wilson. These, I think they've prayed for times like this. In the words of Meek Mill, that has certainly been the case here for sure.
I mean, there's no doubt that sports in general are just better when Chicago sports are competitive. Justin said he had one more for you. He lied. I actually have last one because I know you have a radio show to get ready for. With White Sox fans, I kind of believe with a team that's, fallen short of expectations for so many years and then now is relevant and competitive, the fan temperature is kind of a spectrum, right? It goes from we're just happy to be here and we're just happy that we're playing fun baseball. And then the other end of the spectrum is, World Series or bust. Where do you feel like White Sox fans land right now?
The beauty of this is we're talking about it, right? And I know that sounds kind of cheerleader speak. But when it comes to the fact that this is a team that had 3 straight 100-loss seasons, the worst record in baseball, and you have this turnaround through largely their farm system, not free agent acquisitions. There's a pickup here and there, but their farm system bringing these guys up through the organization. I think that it's a savvy fan base who always is like hanging out with each other and will have their appropriate criticisms of the team. So they understand who these guys are. They follow them since the minor leagues. We're waiting to see how the pitching prospects, for example, fit into perhaps a trade deadline approach. But Guys like Sam Antonacci, for example, you're seeing the Sox took a big swing with Munetaka Murakami and now look like one of the smartest teams in baseball for doing so. Miguel Vargas took it upon himself to improve who he was as a hitter, and he was part of that big deal with the Cardinals and Michael Kopech and the Dodgers involving Tommy Edman too, and he's really come online, making Chris Getz's team look really good. So they understand it's an individual piece right now. It's kind of split when it comes to whether or not the Sox should be buyers or sellers, knowing that right now they're still in first place in the American League in the Central, and that this AL is very right now up for grabs.
Feels like so many of our conversations about the White Sox over the last couple of years were almost making fun of how bad they were, historically bad. And now here they are actually playing really fun baseball, and it's a blast to watch. You can find her on 104.3 The Score in Chicago. Leila, go have a great radio show today. Thanks so much for stopping by with us.
Guys, thanks for the warm-up. Always love talking sports anytime. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Leila. All right, coming up next, take a deep dive into the Rooney Rule. It's at a crossroad. What comes next?
Who is your breakout candidate for this year?
Kind of think Isaiah Likely with the New York Giants is a really good candidate this year. Kind of wide receiver room that could rotate a little bit and be useful players, but they don't, to me, have one dynamic. Even Fields, who I like, I don't know that he's gonna be like a dynamic guy that right off the bus, round 3 rookie, leads the team in targets. I think that could actually be Isaiah Likely. Tight ends on their second contracts have been good bets to make. I think Likely is a good bet to make this year.
Derby on the ground, a high popper. Puka comes up to get it at the 10. Williams out over the 15 and the 20. Puka Williams is free inside the 10, 5, touchdown, Puka Williams.
When you have one of the best returners in the league, when you have one of the fastest guys in the league, he has been on the verge of returning these over and over in this game. You know how dangerous he is. You've got to have a plan.
How do you feel about the Seahawks skill players at this point in time?
The good part, I think, if you're a Seahawks fan, what you would argue here is that outside of Cooper Kupp, like, everybody should, I think, have another step to take. It's not impossible that JSN does this again, but you bake in some, I'm not like negative against the player, but just a little regression there. The way you offset that is younger guys and other players step up.
Walter Wilbon's on his left hip. White rolls right. White throws deep. White's got a man open. Jamon Street, touchdown, New Mexico. First career touchdown pass for James White, and New Mexico strikes on first down.
Look at him go. Calls for it, fakes the handoff. I mean, textbook QB1 stuff.
Pretty good throw.
Really good.
The NFL redesigned its football, and the new site no longer includes a page dedicated to the Rooney Rule or any reference to it. The NFL says they're migrating that info to a new home in the near future. The Rooney Rule is at a crossroads. That there from Kalen Kaler, who does a great job reporting on the NFL for ESPN. That was from an article titled "Inside NFL Rooney Rule Coaches Say is Rigged Against Them." Justin, what did you make of the allegations from the stories from coaches who feel like the Rooney Rule is actually against them?
Yeah, it was an amazing piece. I'd recommend everyone to read it. It was jarring, but it also wasn't surprising. I think what was jarring is the beginning opening anecdote about Patrick Graham. He's currently the defensive coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, at the time before that opportunity, he was very interested in the Jacksonville Jaguars opening. They gave him an opportunity to have dinner in person. No one showed up. The reason why no one showed up for that meeting is because at that same time, they were also meeting with Liam Cohen, their current head. Can you imagine Caroline being stood up for a job interview and no one coming? Now, the Jaguars tried to cover their bases and say there was some miscommunication. We thought that Graham didn't want to meet with us, but that was terrible. And I'm happy that Graham is at least speaking about his experience, and he's also part of this lawsuit, which we'll get into with Brian Flores. Both of them spent time when they were in New England, but he's a part of this system. He's also trying to break it at the same time. But imagine what that does to your. He cried after that. You go to a job interview and you're hoping, like, yes, this is going to be my big break, a dream opportunity. There are only 3 NFL head coaches that are Black. Maybe I can be one of them in the NFL. I'm finally going to get a breakthrough. I come prepared. I do all this research and studying. There's something that's relatable to that. A lot of people have never experienced going to a job interview and being stood up, but they have experienced not getting an opportunity that you thought you were more than qualified for. So I think I'll start off there, that it was very jarring to hear, but not surprising the way the system is. Nepotism is always going to rule out. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that story just makes my heart sink because I think that we can all relate to maybe feeling denied or feeling left out, but to that extent of I have worked my butt off to get where I am in the NFL, and I'm just met with total and complete disrespect, disregard. It makes me sick to my stomach. And I think it's so unfortunate that this is the discourse with the rule because it is a rule that is rooted in all things positive, giving more people opportunity in the National Football League, people that frankly are not represented enough in head coaching positions, in office positions in the National Football League. That at its core, the Rooney Rule promotes diversity and new people that come from different backgrounds and have different perspectives. Those are all positive things in the NFL and in any corporation or in any business, in any places are taking place in this country. So it is a positive at its core. But with any rule, we know there comes loopholes. And we see those loopholes kind of taken advantage of across all rules in the NFL, like the salary cap, for example. Well, there are plenty of ways to get around the NFL salary cap if you can be creative enough. The Rooney Rule is another rule where, kind of organizations have found loopholes. And the unfortunate thing is that comes at the expense of the time and the investment of human beings. That doesn't come at the, disadvantage of the owner having to just, write a check and that's how you avoid the NFL salary cap. No, these are human beings. These are real life people. These are their careers. These are their livelihoods. So it's unfortunate and I don't like it because it should be a positive thing to help build and evolve the NFL. But unfortunately, with every rule comes a loophole. With every rule comes a way to kind of, do some gymnastics and get over the system. And it's just a waste of time for everyone. And it's really, really unfortunate, Justin.
Yeah, some significant change is necessary, but if we also go down to the fabric of it, the owners don't care. People are always going to hire who they want to hire. It's about relation and nepotism. And if someone looks like you have a shared experience with them, or even the access and opportunity to be in those rooms. And if you break it down to even looking at the coordinators and what they look like, they first thought it was defensive coordinators, but now offense is what really is the hot ticket and sells. And they want to make sure that a lot of offensive coordinators are preferably probably white. And we just spoke about one, Ben Johnson, who's extremely talented. But if you look at a lot of the specific positional coaches in the NFL, there are levels to this. There are breakdowns. And then you speak about the front office, the decision makers, who's actually going to be in the room. There's a reason why that lawsuit is taking place. And fortunately, but unfortunately for Bill Belichick, I'm glad that he sent that text to Brian Flores and it was the wrong Brian and how all this played out. So I think that is going to be the real big domino, because if we really understand what the Rooney Rule was, the reason why it's even in existence is because the NFL felt pressure, and I mean real pressure from Johnny Cochran and his team, and they were going to do a racial discrimination lawsuit against the league, and that is why they created it.
And which it in theory, it should, at its core, when it's actually executed correctly, is a positive thing. But I think we've seen in the past, whether that's head coaching openings or GM openings, you can tell that by the list of candidates, sometimes, not always, but sometimes you might look at it and say, well, they're just checking a box to satisfy the Rooney Rule. Because if you look at the list of candidates, it might be 3 or 4 that are wildly, rumored to have gotten a job or qualified, and then there might be somebody that satisfies the Rooney Rule that just does not have the same list of qualifications, and that's so unfair to that candidate. So I think that I would agree with you that there is absolutely revisions to this rule to make sure that it can maintain the true meaning of the Rooney Rule and can actually open up more opportunities for minority head coaches and minority general managers, opportunities for just minorities to get more opportunities in the NFL. The rule's under attack on multiple fronts, though. Coaches speaking out to it. You mentioned Brian Flores. He is suing the league over it. Florida's attorney general wanting the NFL to get rid of it altogether. How much longer can the rule survive as currently constructed, in your opinion, Justin?
That's a tricky question, Caroline. I want to say it's just a matter of time, but what month are we in? July. What kicks off this weekend? Training camp.
Training camp.
The NFL is a machine. It's a beast. And what I mean by that is that this is a story for today. But I think the real way that this story has legs, real change, modification, and amending the Rooney Rule is if this lawsuit plays out in open court in a public trial. That is what it's going to be when you have people that are on the stand having to actually speak on behalf of the NFL, whether that's Roger Goodell that we see here or any other owners, Stephen Ross being one of them, because that's what Brian Flores was claiming during his time that he was with the Miami Dolphins about how he was forced to make some decisions and that his process was pretty much a sham. So I think that is going to be what really has the NFL consider possible change. Because once again, it's about real pressure. Late Johnny Cochran is no longer here, but you got Brian Flores who's pushing forward. Also a part of that is also going to be Patrick Graham, who is open to being on it publicly. A lot of coaches, even for that report that was well done by ESPN and their team, they didn't want to speak publicly. And I don't blame them because you're trying to climb up the ladder and you don't want to be a distraction. And that is what we've heard time and time again about the NFL. Do not be a distraction. If you don't want the players to be a distraction, you think the coaches are going to be a distraction and wanted to jump into this? So yeah, I don't have that much hope. I'm usually optimistic, but I want to see how the Flores lawsuit plays out, especially if it's a public trial in open court.
Yeah, no doubt. Absolutely. I don't know what the alternative is. I know that something needs to change and I know that something needs to be revised. I don't know exactly what that alternative is, though, to make sure that you maintain the essence of what the Rooney Rule was trying to accomplish without offering up ways for organizations to just get around it and to just simply check a box, understanding that that box is a real life human being. So I don't know what the alternative is, but you bring up a very fair point about the timeline. This is something that I've noticed about the NFL, and this is also something that I've noticed about college football, for example. College football in June and July, we're talking about NIL, we're talking about legislation, we're talking about how can we fix college football, we're talking about how can we revise the timeline to make sure that coaches aren't leaving their current teams that are competing for a national championship to go to another one. We're talking about all of these issues that are plaguing the sport. Once the ball gets spotted and once the ball gets kicked off, none of that matters anymore. We're talking about who's on the hot seat. We're talking about winning and losing, a Heisman Trophy watch. We're talking about X's and O's. We're breaking down, did they make the right decision on 3rd and 7? Should they have punted it there instead of going for it on 4th and 3? Those become the focal points and those become the talking points once the ball gets kicked off. And all of a sudden, all of the extra stuff that we were talking about in the offseason becomes secondary and even tertiary because it's football season. So I do think, unfortunately, the point that you bring up about the timeline is totally correct, that this might be at the forefront of our minds right now because we don't have any other football to talk about. We don't have any other sports to talk about. This will just, unfortunately, I don't want it to, but I can look into my crystal ball and see that this maybe just goes by the wayside. A very important topic that we should be talking about goes by the wayside once the ball gets kicked off, because all of a sudden, when September and October roll around, we're going to be talking about, can Caleb Williams win MVP? Is the Rams defense living up to expectation after the Myles Garrett trade? And whatever other storyline may emerge once football season actually starts.
Yeah, it's a drug for a lot of people. It's the most entertaining
Yeah.
sport. The numbers are indisputable for the NFL. But what I mean by drug is how addicting that it is. But you also know that necessarily that I won't say it's not good for you, but what it's doing to other people within its system, it isn't fair. And it's never going to be a fair process. And I feel like a pessimist in saying that. So while I, as a person of color, am looking at the NFL and saying, like, dang, I see what happened to Kaepernick. I've seen even before that Fritz Pollard, as well as the Rooney Rule, and how the system feels broken. I see how they drag some coaches, and it feels like a much shorter leash for coaches of color. They're not given the timeline that other coaches are given to maybe build a team up. Everybody, it's about the microwave generation. I have to win now and keep it moving. It's bad, but I still love the NFL. So that's why this drug is going to continue to feed us and we're going to get a hit of it, which feels like now every day of the week. It used to just be Sundays and Thursdays, but we got Mondays. We're going to have Saturdays. We're going to have Christmas. We're going to have Thanksgiving. It's like, it's just going to keep going on and on. So Brian Flores is going to be a possible real domino. And I'm glad he's still sticking with the lawsuit. And we should mention that he still is a current defensive coordinator and an excellent one
Yeah.
at that for the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, I think that's one of the more under-talked about storylines going into this season is the value of the Vikings bringing back Brian Flores as their defensive coordinator. I mean, the Vikings honestly should have won like 2 games last year, but they were 8-9, 9-8, largely because of what that defense was able to do. So we'll, of course, keep you all updated on that. I think it's important to acknowledge that we can love something, but also not like it. We can love football, but not like every single aspect of the National Football League. All right, coming up next, what's one thing that the Hall of Fame game has in common with the NFC Championship game? We'll explain.
The starting price for a low 4-star. So low 4-star would be, we could be talking the 350th best player in the country. $350,000.
So 300 to 400 individuals a year, let's say roughly, are getting a 4-star ranking. 350K on average? That feels correct.
I saw that number and I thought, it seems low.
My
that was my reaction.
Ross. 4th down and 4 for Jacksonville. Down a touchdown. 2 in motion for Edwards. 3-man, now 4-man rush. Launches end zone, far side, touchdown! Jaden Stoshak.
I mean, once again, rolling out, getting out of the pocket, avoiding the pressure, throwing on the run there, but great throw.
Yeah.
The Arizona Cardinals are not going to be, one, running a serious operation this year again, and then 2, like, they got absolutely bludgeoned. They opened this year with 9 games against all, like, almost Super Bowl contenders, and they only play 3 home games over that span. They have a late bye. We're going to see probably Carson Beck for the fantasy playoffs because they just won't have enough wins. The Arizona Cardinals are a team from a managed league standpoint. I'm not drafting any of their players.
Really, if you watch their motions, the motions are at different speed. That's been pretty fun.
Comes on and now with the quick pitch to the outside. That's not
Jinx.
fooling anybody as Hershot Davis picks him up and goes full body slam. Welcome to the WWE.
Spear, spear, spear. Oh, man. Take your pick. Was that Edge? Was that Goldberg? Was that Rhino?
Oh, that's Goldberg. That's Goldberg. Yeah, that's definitely Goldberg.
Now we just need to see a jackhammer after it.
Cardinals and Panthers become the first NFL teams to have their veterans report to training camp because the Cardinals and the Panthers meet in the Pro Football Hall of Fame game on August 6th. So that's kind of reminiscent of a little bit of history, Justin, because these two teams found themselves competing in the NFC Championship game just about a decade ago in the 2015 season. So how things change in the course of a decade in the National Football League, because I don't think any of us are picking either of these two teams to make it to the NFC Championship game. But that is, in fact, the last time the Panthers won a playoff game. Well, you know, I don't want to give all my cards away, but No, I'm not picking the Cardinals to get to the conference championship game. But that was the last time the Panthers won a playoff game, was way back in 2015. Cam Newton found themselves in the Super Bowl that year. Is Bryce Young the quarterback to get them back there?
Back there, as we're saying playoffs, correct? Just want to make sure we clarify. Or to the
Well,
NFC
maybe let's just
championship
say
game.
winning a playoff game.
Okay, if we're talking about winning a playoff game, playoffs, love that more clip. Amazing. Every single time. Give it to me more. I will say yes. Bryce is the guy that will be able to get them to win a playoff game. They got to the playoffs last year. As you know, it was a great battle against the Rams. They ultimately lost by a field goal, but still, it was nice to see the Panthers back in the postseason for the first time since 2017. Amazed, honestly, just with Bryce Young's resiliency, Caroline. You living in the Carolinas are fully aware of the narrative that was put out there about him, whether it's some of his pictures when he's going to training camp and people trying to troll him and saying he looks like it's his first day of school, but specifically the one on the field when his starting position was taken away from him and everyone was saying, oh, without a doubt, he's being traded. His psyche is shattered. His confidence is completely, totally annihilated. And there's no way that Bryce Young will be able to recover from this. Andy Dalton is going to be the serviceable quarterback moving forward as a bridge gap. And then here comes Bryce Young coming back in to get them to the postseason. He's able to bounce back. And everything I've heard about him is that he is the hardest worker and competitor. When I was covering the ACC, I had a bunch of conversations with Bill O'Brien. And Bill O'Brien and Bryce Young were at the same time working at Alabama. Bryce was the quarterback there. As we know, he won a Heisman. Bill said Bryce was one of the first quarterbacks. Think about the quarterbacks that Bill O'Brien has been with. Deshaun Watson, as well as Bryce Young and Tom Brady. Bryce was one of the first quarterbacks to call him out during a meeting and put him on blast and say like, hey, coach, I actually think we should be doing X, Y, and Z, but challenging him. That tells me a lot about his character and his resolve. So once again, to answer your question, Bryce will be able to get them their first playoff win.
I mean, I give so much credit to Bryce Young because the Carolina Panthers tried as hard as they could to ruin Bryce Young, and they didn't. Because I think the way that they handled his development was just wrong. I wholeheartedly believe in allowing a rookie quarterback to sit and marinate and learn. He didn't get that opportunity. It was kind of thrown out in the team that was not with a roster that was not equipped to compete in the NFL. So then what happens? Then he gets benched for Andy Dalton. Now all of a sudden his confidence is shot because he was the starter and he had that opportunity pulled away from him. But let's not forget, Bryce Young only got the opportunity to get back out there because Andy Dalton was in that car accident. I believe he broke his wrist or injured himself. And that's when Bryce Young got the opportunity again. Not because the Panthers gave him an opportunity. It's because there was just an opportunity that was thrust upon him and he made the most of it. So I give so much credit to Bryce Young. You know, I always believe that bad organizations hurt the chances of young quarterbacks far more than young quarterbacks might hurt an organization. And I felt like the Panthers, didn't manage Bryce Young's development the right way. But I will say absolutely Bryce Young can win the Carolina Panthers a playoff game because he almost did it last year. He almost did it against the team that I picked to win the Super Bowl. People forget that the Rams went down to the wire with the Carolina Panthers last season. So with another year of development, with what the Panthers have done this past offseason, added Jalen Phillips to the defense, they've only bolstered up that the pass catching options for Bryce Young even more. I love Teteroa McMillan. I think absolutely they can win a playoff game. Now, I cannot say NFC Championship game because I just think the NFC is so top heavy. Picking the Rams to win the Super Bowl yet again this year. And oh yeah, by the way, the Seattle Seahawks are in that division. And oh yeah, by the way, the San Francisco 49ers are in division. I just think the NFC is too stacked, but I don't think that that's necessarily the expectation for the Carolina Panthers this year. But I do think that Bryce Young can win them a playoff game. But if you were to look around the landscape of the NFC South, there's a lot of stink in there. But if you were drafting NFC South quarterbacks, who would be your number one overall pick in that division?
Oh, man, that is a kind way to put it, Carolina, a very mercurial or interesting collection of quarterbacks. Let's list all of them first
Interesting.
before we even pick them. We have Tyler Shuck, who was a journeyman, and I got to cover him a little bit at Louisville. He's for the Saints, your beloved team. You also have Baker
Who dat?
Mayfield, the former #1 overall pick. He's with the Bucks, and he's had some stops before he got there. And then you have Bryce Young as well as Michael Penix. So of that four, I feel like the obvious choice has to be Baker Mayfield. We've already seen what he's been able to do, especially if you look at the NFL. It's shown us two blueprints, at least I believe. One, if you have an amazing elite quarterback, you can win a Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar, even going to Joe Burrow, who's able to get there and losing to the Rams. But the other blueprint, which we saw recently last year, if you have a serviceable quarterback, someone who is meddling the field. And I think going into last season, Baker and Sam Darnold, there wasn't that much that separated them. Sam Darnold probably better because of especially what he did in Minnesota, and then he crushed it for Seattle. But going back to Baker Mayfield is serviceable. He's the middle of the pack, and I think that easily I would take him of that group of four.
Yeah, I don't think there's really argument for anybody other than Baker. He has the most proof of concept. In 2024, he was top 5 in almost every single statistical passing category, whether that was passing yards, completion percentage, passing touchdowns, touchdown to interception ratio. I mean, Baker Mayfield, I think has kind of, or excuse me, Sam Darnold has kind of rewired our brains of what you can at the quarterback position in order to contend for and ultimately win a Super Bowl. And I think that Baker Mayfield checks similar boxes that Sam Darnold checked for the Seattle Seahawks. So I think it's Baker just for what he's accomplished and proof of concept. But I do think Bryce Young would be too. Bryce Young would be that second quarterback that I would take. Tyler Shuck showed a lot of really good at the end of last season, but Tyler Shuck also showed some inconsistency at points last season. So I think for me, he'd be 3. Michael Penix, Tua, that duo quarterback, situation happening in Atlanta. They would round out the NFC South for me. But that's kind of how I would rank it and how I would draft it is Baker 1, Bryce Young 2, Tyler Shuck 3, Atlanta quarterback situation 4. But looking, just grab bag there in Atlanta. The Panthers win total currently sits at 7.5 according to BetMGM. Over or under for the Carolina Panthers?
Can I stay away from this bet altogether?
Nope. You don't get to. Nope.
I don't get to.
No cop-outs
7.5.
on this show.
7.5 is very difficult. So they were 8-9 last year, and they were still able to win the division. I'm going to say under, and that is solely based off of me looking at their schedule. The Panthers are going to be playing both the NFC North as well as the AFC North. Those are difficult divisions. Let's throw out some of the teams: the Lions, the Bears, the Packers. You're also going to have to play Cincinnati. You're going to have to play Cleveland. You're going to have to play the Baltimore Ravens. You're going to have to play the Steelers. And on top of that, you also open up the season against Chicago, and you have Philadelphia in the mix. That is a tough hill to climb. I'm going to go under 7.5 based off of the schedule. I agree with you. I think that Bryce is going to be able to take some steps forward, but I don't like that schedule, Caroline. I can't see them getting over 7.5.
Bears, Falcons, Browns, Lions, Eagles, Philadelphia, Bucks at Green Bay, Broncos. They get them at home. Then you go on the road to New Orleans, Ravens again, Vikings, Saints, Bengals, Steelers, Seahawks, Falcons. That's a really hard schedule. So if we just say that the Panthers split all of their divisional games, I am getting a really tough path, 7.5 with the rest of their schedule. So I think I might go under. I think I might agree with you on that one. But we'll see if Frank Schwab agrees with us. Frank agrees with us, that means we're right. And if he doesn't, that means he's wrong. But Frank Schwab will join us coming up to touch on all things NFL.
My sister told me, be careful what you wish for because you might get it. I did. And now it's about, well, what goals are, what's left on the table. I want Street Fighter to be a massive success. I want to do more Guile, but also I want to do more film. I want to do more TV. There's seats on, on the Georgia political scene that are open. Is that a road? Or is this the road to stay with something I love so much like wrestling? And I love this. I don't know how I'd say bye to it.
Sharks down 10. Third down and 10 from the 19. Edwards steps up. Now he's in trouble. And Edwards sacked. Back at the 17. And once again, it's Devontae O'Malley. And flipped into the end zone. Touchdown. A thing of beauty. DeLaurent for Murray with a late pitch over the top, end over end, and a Pirates touchdown.
If you are a check writer at one of these places that has achieved success historically in college football, and you are ideologically opposed to your check going directly to Rev, to paying the players, with the ideology of, well, we didn't have to do this back when. When you hear we didn't used to have to do this amongst boosters, go ahead and order the gravestone for your football program.
Still Barnes in there. No Jared Ware on this drive yet. Roberts against the blitz, goes to the end zone for Keon Williams. Easy as you like. 16-yard touchdown.
There's Keon Williams. Tried to go to him in the last drive on that fourth down play to the end zone. Good defense by Orlando, but that time able to shake free to the corner.
One finally is done. The Raiders and #1 overall pick Fernando Mendoza reached an agreement today on a 4-year, $57.2 million contract, with the Raiders rookies having reported to camp. Mendoza can now get to work. Nice little homage to our friend and colleague Jason Fitz and his beloved Raiders. But joining us now to break down that and all things NFL, because training camp is among us, our friend here at Yahoo Sports, Frank Schwab. With Fernando now signed, what chances are you giving him of starting more games than Kirk Cousins this season?
I feel like we always go into a season with some teams saying, hey, we're not going to start this rookie first-round quarterback. We're going to let him sit. By the way, it's ridiculous. I saw Tom Brady say the other day, like, we're killing these rookie quarterbacks by playing them right away. Matthew Stafford, league MVP, played right away. Drake May played before anybody thought he was going to play. Caleb played right away. Herbert played right away. Burrow played. I can name the list of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Most of them played right away, except Mahomes. Was going to be awesome anyway. Like, I'm sorry, I don't buy this that
Lamar.
Mahomes is great because he sat right away. Lamar played half of his rookie year, so that's true too. But that's, again, I've used this line a million times. The notion that rookie quarterbacks need to sit is from Carson Palmer in the days when we were watching tube TVs. This is a different era. It was a different lifetime ago. Quarterbacks learn by playing. And I think, look, Kirk is a viable guy, so he could hold on to that job a little longer than, say, Tom Savage when they started him over Deshaun Watson in the opener, Nathan Peterman when the Bills started him over Josh Allen in that opener.
Lord.
So, yeah, I know, right? so Kirk could keep this job a little longer than these other guys had, but I think that mid-October, like, there's just going to be too much pressure. Let's see what the kid's got. And Mendoza's not one of these guys who hasn't played football. He's not Ty Simpson. He's played meaningful football. So I do think Mendoza starts more games than Cousins by a pretty significant margin. I think before Halloween, we're going to see Mendoza in that starting spot.
I'm sorry, my inner thoughts came out loud about Peterman because I remember that half with 5 interceptions. That was
a jump scare.
Oh. Yeah,
that was a lot.
And they started him over Josh Allen. They go back and look at the opener, Josh Allen's rookie year. The Bills coaching staff that year looked at Josh Allen and Nathan Peterman for months over the offseason program and said, Nathan Peterman, yeah, you start game one. Just remember that.
And let's not forget that one of the reasons why, like, Justin Herbert even got an opportunity was because of a punctured lung from, there's just so many crazy scenarios. Opportunity, luck, all of that. Let's stay in the AFC West and speak about a team that Fitz is kind of low on going into this year, and that is the Kansas City Chiefs. We're speaking about Patrick Mahomes. We know sort of a down year for them last year. Do you think another down season, or do they have a major bounce back?
I don't know about a major bounce back. And look, I got some grief online for having them only number 12 in my offseason power
Oh.
rankings. But hey, that's okay because I could see a scenario where the Chiefs are really, really good. When you start off with a guy who might be the best coach of all time, Andy Reid's got an argument now. A guy who might be the best quarterback, most talented quarterback we've seen, Patrick Mahomes, he's got an argument too. It's a great place to start. I think bringing in Kenneth Walker changes their offense. It's going to make defenses more honest. Patrick Mahomes has not had a running back like that to take pressure off of him. So there are good things to like about the Chiefs. The building blocks of that dynasty are still there. The dynasty still might be going on for all we know. But you've seen the erosion of the supporting cast around Mahomes. Like Rashee Rice can't stay out of trouble, and Xavier Worthy just hasn't done it. And at some point, Travis Kelce's going to hit the age wall. I'm sorry. It's just going to look up tight ends of his age. I think only 3 have ever had a season over 400 yards. The defense lost a lot with the secondary. They traded Trent McDuffie, who the Rams, a great organization, immediately made the highest paid quarterback in NFL history. So I just have a lot of questions about the Chiefs, and they play in that really, really tough division. I could see it going either way. When I was ranking these teams for my offseason power rankings, the Chiefs are one of those teams. I said I could have this team 6, 7, 8 spots higher. I could have them a few spots lower, and I think both are justified. Like I said, I had them at 12, and I think that's fine because I'm in the middle of the road with the Chiefs. I don't know where they go from here. I don't think they win the division. I don't think they're the best team in that division. I could see them finishing 3rd in that division, to be honest. I'll probably pick them to finish 3rd in that division, but it's always stupid to bet against Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. I do know that as well.
I think I would be equally as surprised if the Chiefs win that division than if they finish 4th. Or, excuse me, 3rd, not 4th.
Yeah,
sorry, Fitz.
no
Raiders
offense,
can finish
Fitz.
4th in
No
that
offense,
division.
Fitz. But yeah,
Sorry,
3rd is the
Fitz.
basement
Yeah.
here. 3rd is the floor.
3rd is the absolute lowest I could see the Chiefs. But let's get into some other quarterbacks in that same Mahomes tier. Both Lamar and Josh Allen are coming into this year head coaches. Which do you think can find more success this season, the Ravens or the Bills?
That's a great question. I have the Bills. Look, I mean, we haven't gotten to those teams in my power rankings, but I do have the Bills higher. And I think that this is kind of the year for the Bills to break through. I think the playoff disappointment of last year. Look, I was there. It was in Denver, and I covered that game. Did the Bills locker room. I've never seen a locker room that devastated. And I've covered plenty of Super Bowl losing teams. And that locker room was just absolutely wrecked because they thought, hey, we can break through. We can win this conference. There's no Burrow in these playoffs. There's no Lamar in these playoffs. We could do this. And then they lost that heartbreaker in Denver. And it did spur some changes. I mean, I don't know that Sean McDermott deserved to lose his job necessarily, but sometimes that shakes up an organization. Joe Brady walks in. We don't know how a rookie coach is going to do ever, but I kind of like what you've heard so far from him. There is continuity because he was their offensive coordinator. And I just trust everything going on with the Bills a little more than I trust everything going on with the Ravens. I think the Ravens are pretty thin on offense in a few places. I trust Lamar. Like the nonsense you hear about Lamar lately, like this offseason's way too long. You heard guys talk about, I trust Bo Nix more than I trust Lamar Jackson. Okay, come on now. What are we doing here? What are we doing? Lamar Jackson is one of the best players on the planet still. He's not the number 69 player as the NFL's countdown would like you to believe. Lamar is awesome. I like the Jesse Minter hire. I had the Bills higher. I think there's a better chance that they break through and make a Super Bowl than the Ravens. But I don't like going against Lamar. I think Lamar is awesome. I think he bounces right back. There's no reason for me to believe Lamar has lost anything. He dealt with a hamstring injury last year. It happens. Hopefully he stays healthy this year. I think both of those teams win their division, and I would love to see them play in the playoffs. Let's put it that way. Those two teams can put on a show.
Absolutely. Those are both top 3 quarterbacks right behind Mahomes.
What are we doing? Let's stop with the Lamar stuff.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson won MVP in 2023, should have won in 2024, and was playing at an MVP level before he hurt his hamstring last year. Let's not forget that Lamar Jackson's awesome.
Yeah, we're also being honest. Lamar, if he retires right now, he's a Hall of Famer. He has that
first
type
ballot.
of resume.
First ballot.
Yeah.
First ballot. Like, yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, they are unbelievable.
If we stick in that division, maybe not the sexiest of stories, but cue up the Peaches and Herb reunited, Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy. Do you see some magic happening there?
No, next question.
Really?
I don't know what the Steelers are doing. Like, I got some grief. Again, when you put out these rankings, you get some grief. And I love it because it's that time of year where you can bait things. But I just view the Steelers as this organization. It has this proud history. It has a lot of Super Bowl titles. and they're swinging for singles. They're not chasing set championships anymore. You cannot tell me that any Steelers fan, or I don't even think people in the building, think that they're a Super Bowl contender with the combination of Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy. This ain't 2011 anymore. Like, we're a long way down the road. Like, think about where you were 15 years ago, all right? Like, we've changed a lot. Aaron Rodgers, look, his career has mirrored Brett Favre in so many ways, right? We've talked about that. He went from the Packers to this team to that team. Look at Brett Favre's last year. Look at how it went, okay? Like, it wasn't pretty at all. He hit the wall hard, and I could see that happening for Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers got by last year. He's a perfectly reasonable quarterback, and for his age, it was impressive. But we're getting to an age where only Tom Brady has had success, and Tom Brady is a cyborg. I'm not even sure he's human. Like, he might literally be made in a lab. So Tom Brady's the outlier. Let's not compare to anybody to Tom Brady. Quarterbacks at Aaron Rodgers' age do not play well. They're usually retired. They're usually on a beach somewhere by now. So I could see Aaron Rodgers really struggling this year. You kind of saw some signs of it with him being a check down guy last year. And I don't know that the infrastructure around him is great. And I just view Mike McCarthy as kind of a Timu Mike Tomlin, right? Every criticism of Mike Tomlin is Mike McCarthy, except Mike McCarthy's not as good. So I hated that hire for the Steelers. I just thought it was a very safe, we're just playing up to he's West Philadelphia guy or West Pennsylvania guy. There's a great story. Well, go hire Jesse Minter or something. Go hire somebody with some upside. Clint Kubiak. I don't know, but we know who Mike McCarthy is. Neither of these guys are floor raisers at all. They're not ceiling raisers for sure. I think the Steelers really struggle this year. I just think that their whole plan of building around McCarthy, Rodgers, an old defense, I don't get it. I don't understand. There's not a championship ceiling here. They should have been going in a different direction. Take some swings and swing for at least one home run this offseason.
I always forget that the Pittsburgh Steelers won their division last year.
Oh,
and we talk about the NFL every single day.
On a missed field goal, right? Like, it was like
everything
everybody
had to go
asked,
catastrophically wrong.
everything. And Caroline, everybody asked, like, which team made the playoffs last year? It's not going to. And I'm like, this is cheating. Like, it's the Steelers. Of course, they're the team you're going to pick that made the playoffs last year. Not maybe the Carolina Panthers. I'm sorry, Caroline.
Oh, that's okay. I just live there. I'm not a fan. But I want you to look at the entire NFL and fill in the blank with this question. Blank will be the biggest disappointment in the NFL if they do not win their division.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's a great question. I think that I'll go to this direction for you. I think it's the Rams. And this is not against the Seahawks. Seahawks are a great football team. We saw that. But can you imagine the Rams not winning the division? Like, they have built this super team. They built this dream team. And what would we talk about for years to come? We'd be like, oh my, the Rams went all in and they got, the Seahawks hit a 6-outer on the river to beat them. Like, it's nothing against the Seahawks, but I think the Rams have loaded up so much for this year and have such a great roster. That is the best roster in the NFL, period. And I'm not saying there's any shame in not beating out the Seahawks or even a healthy 49ers team. We forget the 49ers won at Seattle and won at Los Angeles last year. They're a good football team when they're healthy. But I think the Rams, just because this is such a Super Bowl or bust season that you look at other teams, and if the Bills lost to the Patriots, well, we saw that last year, and if the Broncos didn't win the division, well, everybody expects them to regress, and the Bears are going to regress, and all this kind of stuff. I think it's the Rams just because the expectations are through the roof, and they have the roster. These are not unfounded expectations. I look at that roster, and I say, this could be one of the best teams we've seen since like the 2007 Patriots. Like, this is that type of team. If we're talking about them being a wild card team playing on the first weekend at, Tampa Bay or wherever they're going to play, I think that'd be a huge disappointment for the Rams.
I like that answer a lot. Yeah, especially with Myles Garrett in the fold. And we'll see whenever Aaron Donald announces, if he announces.
That'd be awesome. I can't wait.
It's when, not if. I believe. I hope.
Yeah, I do.
Putting out there in the universe.
I mean, he stayed in great shape. He'll be fine.
Yeah, Aaron Donald, of all guys, in better shape than probably 2/3 of the Rams roster, maybe 100% of the Rams roster. Let's be real.
Maybe most people in this world as well. Another storyline that people are monitoring is Tyreek Hill. He was out this week and gave us an update about that leg he gruesomely broke. He said he has no more power in it. Tyreek Hill, a player that really is reliant on his speed, and we've seen him at his peak powers. Do you think that this is the beginning of the end for him?
I do. It might be the end period. I mean, it's tough to say that. He's had such a great career, had 1,799 yards in 2023, was obviously dominant. but it's complicated with Tyreek. I mean, you look at that video, and at the end of it, he says, timeline's going great. We're looking great. Well, he also talked about how doctors told him he might not walk again. Like, what? Like, and then he talked about, I have no power in my left leg. That's like, well, it's July 23rd when he said that. Tyreek, like, this is bad. Like, and he's just barely starting to run. Now you know why he's unsigned. And Tyreek Hill, great player, obviously, dominant player. He's relied on his speed his whole career. And now he's 32, coming off this major leg injury. And can you rely on him being the fastest guy in the field anymore? I think the answer is no. And obviously, we know buying into Tyreek Hill means buying into more than just the on-field product, right? Like, there's a lot of off-field stuff always with Tyreek. So I think it's just very complicated with Tyreek. He's not ready yet. When's he going to be ready? If you have no power in your left leg right now in late July, are you really going to be ready for opening day? I don't know. I'm not a physical therapist or anything, but it seems to me like, boy, this is maybe a mid-season thing. And then you just don't know what you're getting with Tyreek. And if it's another year down the road and he's 33 next year, is he going to come back? I think it's just so complicated. I don't think we're ever going to see the Tyreek Hill that we saw 2-3 years ago. Like that's probably not coming back, but that's just a matter of age. Guys age, it happens. But this injury was bad. This injury is really bad. So, yeah, I think Tyreek Hill might reemerge and be like a contributor down the stretch for somebody who maybe the Rams, if Devontae gets hurt or something, they bring him in on a flyer. But yeah, the days of like Tyreek Hill headlining the NFL and being one of the top receivers, definitely over, I think. And then you just have to wonder, does he play again? And where will he, emerge in that?
And we've seen some receivers play at a high level well into their 30s. I think DeAndre Hopkins is a great example of that. But what makes DeAndre Hopkins great is not necessarily what makes Tyreek Hill great. What makes Tyreek Hill great is his speed, his explosiveness. That goes with age. Sticky hands, that can stick around. And DeAndre Hopkins is one of the best of them. It is so great to have Frank Schwab back. So we're going to keep him around for another segment. We'll take a quick break here, but more Frank Schwab coming up on the other side here on Yahoo Sports Daily.
Who is your breakout candidate for this year?
Kind of think Isaiah Likely with the New York Giants is a really good candidate this year. Kind of wide receiver room that could rotate a little bit and be useful players, but they don't, to me, have one dynamic. Even Fields, who I like, I don't know that he's going to be like a dynamic guy that right off the bus, round 3 rookie, leads the team in targets. I think that could actually be Isaiah Likely. Tight ends on their second contracts have been good bets to make. I think Likely is a good bet to make this year.
Derby on the ground, a high popper. Puka comes up to get it at the 10. Williams out over the 15 and the 20. Puka Williams is free. Inside the 10, 5, touchdown! Puka Williams.
When you have one of the best returners in the league, when you have one of the fastest guys in the league, he has been on the verge of returning these over and over in this game. You know how dangerous he is. You've got to have a plan.
How do you feel about the Seahawks skill players at this point in time?
The good part, I think, if you're a Seahawks fan, what you would argue here is that outside of Cooper Kupp, like everybody should, I think, have another step to take. It's not impossible that JSN does this again, but you bake in some, I'm not like negative against the player, but just a little regression there. The way you offset that is younger guys and other players step up.
Walter Wilbon's on his left hip. White rolls right. White throws deep. White's got a man open. Jamon Street. Touchdown, New Mexico. First career touchdown pass for James White. And New Mexico strikes on first down.
Look at him go. Calls for it. Fakes the handoff. I mean, textbook QB1 stuff.
Pretty good throw.
Really good.
The Buccaneers have been a team that typically has gotten deals done once camp is underway. I think they figure out a way to get a deal done with Baker Mayfield. My projection would be it's around $50 million a year. Adam Schefter reported that on the Pat McAfee show. So let's break it down with none other than our very own Frank Schwab, who sticks around for yet another segment. Frank, I want you to put yourself in the shoes of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers general manager. Would you pay Baker Mayfield $50 million a year?
Oh boy, I always get on teams for paying middle of the road quarterbacks, because they just feel like, well, what is our other option? I think they're going to. I have a hard time saying you shouldn't because what else are you getting into? But Baker's been up and down in his career, and it's hard. It's if he plays like he did a few years ago when he was just dealing, throwing touchdowns, like it seemed like every drive he's ending with a touchdown to Mike Evans or Chris Godwin or whoever. That Baker's worth $50 million. The Baker of the second half last year might not be worth $5 million. He was terrible down the stretch, and so were the Buccaneers, dealing with a lot of injuries. I grant him that. But I just don't know what you get Baker year to year. So, and that makes it tough. That makes it a tough investment. But I think what choice do the Buccaneers have really? They're probably not going to but they're probably not going to be in a position to draft one of those quarterbacks really high in the draft next year. I think you just pay Baker and hope, but that's a bad long-term strategy. But that's the thing. The best of Baker, if you just take here's the peak of Baker, you're like, yeah, that guy's worth $50 million. So at least you could talk yourself into it that way. But it's hard to get over what happened in the second half last year to him and the Bucs. They collapsed. Like, we don't talk about that enough. They were 6-2 in one of the worst divisions in NFL history, and they didn't win a game again until the finale. Like, it was absolutely horrible. Mayfield was a big part of that. It's a tough investment right now with Baker, just because, again, from year to year, you just don't know what you're getting.
Yeah, and Mike Evans is no longer there.
Yep.
That's a really tough one to try to size up. It's like the devil that you know is better than the devil that you don't.
Exactly. Yeah.
So let's stay with Baker. Earlier in the show, Frank, we were speaking about Bryce Young. For the next 5 years, you have your pick of these two NFC South quarterbacks. Are you going with Baker or Bryce Young?
Probably Baker. I just haven't seen it from Bryce Young. And I get the Panthers are a really interesting case study in that they were not a good football team last year in any way, really. Like, they won a couple games. Yeah, they beat the Rams. That was impressive. They won at Lambeau. Impressive. But if you look at the rest of it, the Panthers weren't a very good football team. And I think it was the second to last game of the season against the Seahawks. Bryce Young had 54 yards. I think he had more than 200 yards passing like 4 times last year. He barely got over 3,000 yards in a 17-game season. That's not good. He just has not emerged as that high-level guy. Might he? Yes. I root for him. I like Bryce Young. I thought he's a great college player, seems like a great dude, all that kind of stuff. But the fact is, he just has not looked like a franchise quarterback. At times he does. There's a few games where you're like, here it is. It's just not week to week with Bryce. So I definitely take Baker in that. I'm just not a Bryce Young believer. I'm not a believer in the Panthers, who are already taking on injuries right now. I think that the Panthers are interesting in that they were a bad team last year, but they had one great game against the Rams in the playoffs, and that's all anybody remembers. You talk about the Panthers, and everybody's like, yes, that's a team on the rise. They're ascending. Why? Because they almost beat the Rams. Like, that was a great effort. It doesn't mean they're a good team to me. I'm not high on the Panthers this year at all. Not high on Bryce Young at all. We're just having recency bias with them because the last time we saw them play really well against a good Rams team, that's not the Panthers. That wasn't the team all year. They're not a very good football team.
I think that's all anyone talks about because that was probably the only Panthers game a majority of people watched.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
Season.
You're absolutely right, Caroline. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. I mean, they're at noon only in Charlotte, North Carolina. Nobody else can watch the Panthers. I want to keep the quarterback comparisons going, though, between Cam Ward and Jackson Dart. Cam Ward played 3 more games than Jackson Dart, but I see 15 pass touchdowns. Jackson Dart, same thing. Cam Ward, 7 picks. Jackson Dart, 5. Cam Ward just over 3,000 passing yards. Jackson Dart just over 2,200 passing yards. I know that stats aren't everything, and I don't want to just box score scout, but these two had wildly similar stats, but the perception of both of them is very different. For Jackson Dart, it's the Giants have their... And nobody is talking about Cam Ward outside of him saying that he was going to, peg some kids when he was playing dodgeball with them. Why are we talking about these two quarterbacks in such wildly different lights?
I think one plays in New York. And, this is a great point. You talked about, nobody really saw the Panthers play last year. Literally nobody saw the Titans play. They didn't have one primetime game. They didn't have one standalone game all year. And I really, truly believe that's why Cam Ward got a pass for his rookie year. Because Cam Ward was awful his rookie year. Like, if you look at his numbers, you're like, wow. Like, he was worse than J.J. McCarthy. Like, he really was. Like, go look at the stats. I'm not making that up. Now, he had some great highlights. You saw the arm strength. You saw a lot of the things people liked about Cam Ward coming out of college. But on the whole, that was a miserable, terrible rookie season. Now, had a terrible
Yeah.
coach. Like, they made a bad decision to bring back Callahan. I don't know what they were thinking there. Supporting cast around him was awful. Okay, now he's got a legitimate NFL coach in Robert Saleh. They spent a ton of money on the roster, brought in Brian Daboll to work with him. We get to see this year if Cam Ward is going to be good. And I think he will be. I really do. I think Cam Ward is going to turn the corner. I think he's going to have a good second year with a lot better situation around him. I still believe in Cam Ward in that question. I like Jackson Dart too. I do worry about him staying healthy. I just do. Like, I think at this point, I think he's just so defiant as far as like, I don't care if I get hurt. This is the way I play the game. Well, okay, go ahead, because it usually doesn't work out that well. You can't help the team when you're in the blue tent. So I will take Ward over Dart, but I will say I thought Dart looked a lot better last year. The highlights for Cam notwithstanding, overall, it was a bad season for him. And we just kind of ignored it and gave him a pass because honestly, I think nobody watched the Titans play last year because they were always on 1 o'clock Eastern time. Nobody really cared because they're the Tennessee Titans. We get to really see this year if Cam Ward has improved, though, because there's not any excuses after this year. If he looks the same, all of a sudden the Titans have a real problem on their hands.
Yeah, I think there's going to be maturity by both. I'm definitely on the Cam Ward bandwagon. Got a chance to see him at Miami. Really solid dude. And I've been watching some of the Netflix series, so just seeing like him analytically, how he's processing everything. But yeah, we'll see. Some adults in the room there with Dable and Saleh, so hopefully things on the incline. Let's go to another team where things seem maybe not as overly positive or optimistic, and that would be the lovely Cleveland Browns. Apparently, they're not sure who their quarterback is going to be. So, Frank, are you following the money, which is Deshaun Watson, or are you following someone who has top 10 jersey sales in Shedeur Sanders?
You are rage baiting me. I knew I should not have come on this morning. I was having a good morning. Anybody who's heard me talk about this situation knows how much I like railing on the Cleveland Browns and the embarrassment they are for trying to convince us that Deshaun Watson is a realistic option here. The media blitz started early last December. Go back. Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter, coincidentally, both on the same day, reported out of the blue that, hey, Deshaun Watson's going to be on the roster next year, and he's a viable candidate to start. Why? Like, where did that report come from? I remember seeing that, and I'm like, why is this being reported, and why does anybody care? Well, since then, I figured it out. The Cleveland Browns are on a media blitz. You look at the stories that have been written throughout the offseason, all of them are, Deshaun Watson's going to be our starter. Deshaun Watson deserves another chance. Deshaun Watson stinks. Even we watched him play football the past few years, he is not a good quarterback. There's a thing, Browns, if you're listening to me, Jimmy Haslam, who's ruining my Milwaukee Bucks right now. Jimmy Haslam, please listen to me. It's not about the Bucks, about the Browns. There's a thing in this world called sunk cost, okay? Sunk cost is a thing. You've already paid all these picks for Deshaun Watson. You've paid this money for Deshaun Watson. It does not mean Deshaun Watson's going to become good. Why are the Browns doing this? Why? What's the point? Like, unless you're just trying to tank out in the open and say, we want to be the worst team in football so we can go get Arch Manning. Okay, that's viable. I don't get this. I don't understand why they're laying the groundwork for Deshaun Watson to start a quarterback. We've seen who he is. We know what's happened off the field. It's an embarrassment. It's one of the most embarrassing things I've seen in my time covering the NFL, and I've been covering the NFL for a while. I would rather start Shedeur Sanders. I'd rather start Dylan Gabriel. I'd rather start Draymond Green. I would rather start literally anybody off the street than Deshaun Watson. It's humiliating for the franchise that they are trying to convince everybody, yeah, Deshaun Watson deserves another chance. Jimmy Haslam sat at the owners' meetings, I think it was last year, and said, well, we took a big swing and we missed on him. Nothing's changed. He hasn't played. What are we doing here, Cleveland? Stop. This is why you're the Cleveland Browns. Please, do not just give up this dream of Deshaun Watson. It is not happening. Start anybody else. Literally anybody else on the roster, anybody else on the street, anybody but Deshaun Watson, Cleveland Browns.
I am with you 100%. Browns, call me. I'm going to be free on Sundays.
Caroline,
I can hop in.
Start. I would watch that. Yeah, I'd watch that. Yeah.
Thank you, Frank. I've gotten a couple of calls. Really excited about what could be this year.
Just like Jake Paul, you're getting a couple of calls from NFL teams. Yeah.
Oh Lord.
Exactly. I mean, when I am compared to Jake Paul, that's when I know that I probably need to go. That's when I know I need to hang it up. Frank Schwab, he is the absolute best. You can find his NFL power rankings on yahoosports.com. There is nobody who covers this league better than Frank Schwab. So Frank, thanks so much for hanging out with us this morning. We appreciate you, my friend.
Absolutely appreciate you guys.
Thanks. Take care, Frank.
Frank Schwab, he is the absolute best, and so is the drama that we have gotten from Tampa at SEC Media Days. Little Argot or On Something SEC edition coming up next.
The starting price for a low 4-star. So low 4-star would be, we could be talking 350th best player in the country. $350,000.
So 300 to 400 individuals a year, let's say roughly, are getting a 4-star ranking. 350K on average? That feels correct.
I saw that number and I thought, it seems low.
My
Like, that was my
look at
reaction.
Ross. 4th down and 4 for Jacksonville. Down a touchdown. 2 in motion for Edwards. 3-man, now 4-man rush. Launches end zone, far side, touchdown! Jaden Stoshak.
I mean, once again, rolling out, getting out of the pocket, avoiding the pressure, throwing on the run there, but great throw.
Yeah.
The Arizona Cardinals are not going to be, one, running a serious operation this year again, and then two, like, they got absolutely bludgeoned. They opened this year with 9 games against all, like, almost Super Bowl contenders, and they only play 3 home games over that span. They have a late bye. We're going to see probably Carson Beck for the fantasy playoffs because they just won't have enough wins. The Arizona Cardinals are a team from a managed league standpoint. I'm not drafting any of their players.
Really, if you watch their motions, the motions are at different speed. That's been pretty fun.
Comes on and now with the quick pitch to the outside. That's not
Jinx.
fooling anybody as Hershot Davis picks him up and goes full body slam. Welcome to the WWE.
Spear, spear, spear. Oh, man. Take your pick. Was that Edge? Was that Goldberg? Was that Rhino?
Oh, that's Goldberg. That's Goldberg. Yeah, that's definitely Goldberg.
Now we just need to see a jackhammer after it.
LSU head coach Lane Kiffin shared at SEC Media Days that he's deleted all social media apps from his phone, initially doing so as a challenge from his son, Knox. Kiffin said it's been, quote, freeing to be away from social media. Sometimes I have to remind myself that that is, in fact, my head football coach. What a time it is to be alive. So it is time to now do a little game that we like to call On Target or On Something. So we'll be looking at some of the boldest statements that we heard coming out of Tampa at SEC Media Days. And we will ask ourselves, is that totally a bullseye or total bull? You know what? So we will start with Lane Kiffin. All of a sudden, he's a changed man. He's a new person. Justin, On Target or On Something?
Oh my gosh. A zebra does change their stripes. No.
He's new.
This one does not.
He's changed.
No. This is on. I appreciate Lane sharing the story about his son, and I'm sure it is true. But when we know the history of this individual, why was he announcing this? Was it for applause? Was it for credit? Was it to let everybody know that I'm someone that's a part of Gen X and I can actually stay off of my phone and I'm going to delete all these social media apps because I don't want any distractions going into this pivotal year, my first year at LSU after I left Ole Miss at the altar? Come on now. I don't care that you deleted this. This is not that impressive to me. So what, did you delete the New York Times app as well? You're not going to play Wordle? It's like, I don't care. Like, I do not believe Lane when he says things. I take them very lightly because based off of his history, he's very self-centered. So congrats, Lane. Like, kudos to you. Snaps. Well done.
It'll be a cold, cold day in hell when you pry Wordle out of my hands. So I guess that's why I can't be a college football head coach. You ask, is it for attention? Is it for applause? Yes! Yes, everything Lane Kiffin does is for attention. He's like Tinkerbell. If he doesn't get applause, then he dies. He needs it to live. So no, this is on something. I don't give him credit for doing what a lot of other college football coaches do, which is just staying off of the internet and staying off of social media. I also don't buy that this was just a cute sweet little challenge, bet, or dare from his son Knox. I think that's what he made it out to be, to take attention away from it, make it seem like it's something really cute and sweet and genuine between father and son. No, this was not a bet from his son. This was from the LSU athletic department saying, if you don't get off of Twitter, if you don't stop this program and yourself a total side circus show, then we can't have you here. So I don't think this is from Knox. I think this was directly from the desk of the athletic director and the president at LSU. And if I talk about Lane Kiffin and Twitter one more time, I'm literally going to spontaneously combust. I am going to. I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. I'm tired of it. And I'm glad he's off social media.
Do this with me. Woosah. Woosah. Okay? Just meditate.
I can't. I can't. When Lane Kiffin is your head football coach of your favorite team in the world, there's no such thing as relaxation, and there is no such thing as Zen. I always got to keep my head in a swivel. All right. From the current head football coach at LSU to a former head football coach at LSU, Nick Saban said another one of his former teams, Alabama, is flying under the radar heading into the 2026 season. Alabama is being overlooked on target or on something.
On something. We're speaking about Alabama, right? The Crimson Tide. I know that you love LSU, but even you would admit, when has Alabama ever flew under the radar? Let me give you the month. February. Never. This is real odd for one of the GOATs to say. I was really surprised by it. Like, sure, it's talking season. We're just grabbing at headlines, but this is also a person that's very strategic and thoughtful with their words and how he answers questions. I was surprised by it because Saban, first time going back to Paul Bryant or Bear Bryant, in addition to before Bryant, where there were two national champions, one by Alabama. They have always been Alabama. No matter what, if they are coming in having a down season or expected to win a national championship, you expect them to compete. You never underestimate Bama. It's really that simple.
This one I kind of struggle with. I think it's both on target and on something because you mentioned it's Alabama. It's the Alabama Crimson Tide. It's one of the biggest brands in college football. It was the modern dynasty in college football. So I don't think there's ever going to be a world, at least now or not for the near future, where Alabama is not a storyline. When they're good, they're a storyline. When they are not good, they're a storyline. If they win a game by too small of a margin, then that's a storyline. So that's kind of on something. But I also think it's a little bit on target, not because Alabama is necessarily being overlooked, but just because Alabama is just not one of the more interesting storylines going into this season. You have a Manning that is quarterbacking in one of the teams in this conference. You have Lane Kiffin that left one SEC team that was on a path to contending for a national championship to leave for another SEC team just in the middle of the postseason. You have all of these talking points and all of these fascinating stories that are hovering around the conference, and frankly, Alabama is just not one of them. That Alabama is now undergoing a quarterback battle in training camp, and I don't think anyone really would know the names of either of these two guys. They're not household names. It's not the same kind of Tua Tagovailoa, Bryce Young, Mac Jones, superstar celebrity quarterback status that we've maybe had in the past. That's not to say that these quarterbacks can't make a name for themselves of whoever emerges as the starter, but that's just not where they are right now. So yes, Alabama's always a story, but I think it's also true to say too that there are far more interesting storylines hovering around this conference that don't involve the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Yeah, that's fair. I was just surprised to hear that from Saban because even if he felt that way, I wouldn't have wanted him to admit it. And granted, he's not, I promise you, if he was there, he wouldn't have said that. But I do agree with you where it could be possibly on target that they are not the sexiest storyline. When you think about top 3 storylines, maybe even top 5, if you want to put it in a positive spin for excitement, Bama's probably not up there, specifically when it comes to the SEC. So I totally get that, but still leaning to on something that it's Bama. You still line up across them and you know that's the Crimson Tide.
And we know Nick Saban is an expert at manufacturing bulletin board material. He may have just manufactured some for his former team right there.
That's the rat poison.
That's rat poison. Commissioner Greg Sankey, commissioner at the SEC, made waves when he said that school presidents are having real conversations about breaking away from the NCAA. On target or on something, the SEC's best path forward is, in fact, breaking away from the NCAA.
So I was going back and forth with these two. And after giving it more thought, the way the question is framed, I'm going to say that their best path forward is to stay with the NCAA. So this is definitely on something. But I do feel like it's inevitable that they will break away. And that means possibly the Big Ten. We all know that the foundation that the NCAA, or specifically college football, is on right now is a house of cards. It's terrible. Going back to the BCS system for the longest, college football had an opportunity to actually fix it. It's not a perfect system, but because they were so late to the party, you have this mess with the transfer portal. It is terrible right now. But specifically with the SEC and this question, I do think that it is on something, because them leaving away from the NCAA and to have public institutions and colleges, are they going to have the bandwidth and runway? Yes, we know the SEC has deep money, especially with the schools in it, but is it going to be economically viable? Are they going to be able to do this for several years? And I do not think the best path forward is for them to break away. And I don't think that's the same for the Big Ten. I think they need to actually stay with the NCAA, find some type of compromise. I don't have the perfect system, but I do not like where things have been, where things are heading, and the past. It has been terrible for the longest, but we have people that are smart enough to sit together. The current system with this college football playoff, trying to expand it to 24, like we're opening up Pandora's box. Or let's keep it the way it is right now. And they're trying to extend the calendar. Let's not even speak about the way the college football calendar is set up right now and having breaks. Like you're going to be competing with the NFL. It is terrible all around. But with the SEC, the best path forward is to stay with the NCAA. Like, stay in this relationship, compromise, and find a way. You guys are together. Do not break away and try to find the next best thing.
Yeah, I'm with you with that. I don't see a world where this makes a lot of sense at all for the SEC, whether it's financial sense, whether it's, making sense competitively, because breaking away from the NCAA essentially kills all sports not named football. Because what you're going to have basketball programs that just compete in their own tournament and not the NCAA tournament. Yeah, good luck getting Kentucky on board with that. Good luck getting some of the most talent, not just in the country, but across the globe to come play for you when you don't get an opportunity to play in March Madness. What, you think that swimming and cross country and track and field is going to exist outside of the NCAA? And I'm not naive enough to think that anybody makes decisions based off of cross country and track and swimming and diving. Don't get me wrong there. But I think you're heading down a really slippery slope if you are thinking of breaking away from the NCAA, because only football would be able to exist in that right. No, I do wholeheartedly believe deep down in my heart that if this is even a realistic possibility, the SEC wouldn't do it without the Big Ten. The Big Ten in the SEC would break away from the NCAA. Then you have your Super League, and they're probably picking up the phone and calling Miami and Florida State and Clemson and some of the biggest programs outside of the SEC and the Big Ten to come join that big super team. That's what it would look like, far more than it would just be the SEC itself breaking away. But I think that we're very, very far away from doing that. I think collective bargaining is the best first next step before breaking away entirely. All right, let's get this one in here. And I'm sure this won't ruffle any sort of feathers, as I am sitting in a room with 3 Tennessee graduates. Josh Heupel is going back to the real UT conversation. He said that for the first time, the real UT plays the other UT for the first time in a long time. On target or on something, Tennessee is the real UT.
So my answer is on something, because I believe the real UT is Texas. And this is fully understands the history of the Volunteers. I used to live in Tennessee, and Caroline, the 3 questions that they would ask me were: 1, do you have a church home? 2, are you a Volunteers fan? And 3, do you claim Peyton Manning to be the greatest quarterback of all time? I was there during the Butch Jones era, and I understand how rabid this fan base is. I took a few trips to Neyland Stadium and got a chance to even see the Volunteers check out. They were playing Missouri. Yes, I understand all of that, but Texas has had the most recent success. But I take this comment as very entertaining because we know they're finally getting a chance to play each other. I believe the game is September 26th, so they're going to be able to prove it on the field. But Josh Heupel, a former quarterback in himself, quarterbacks or specifically coaches usually don't give other teams bulletin board material. So I'm actually surprised that he came out and said this, but he's been saying it for years, state the actual year that they're playing. The real UT to me is Texas. And if Tennessee wants to prove that and actually have a claim of the title or reclaim their throne, they're going to have to prove it in September.
So my parents went to Tennessee. My husband went to Tennessee. I come from a volunteer family. My sister went to South Carolina. So in my house, UT is Tennessee and USC is South Carolina. We do not observe Southern Cal in my house. But my house is my house, and my house is not everybody's house. Right now, I think if you asked anyone on the street, UT is Texas and USC is Southern Cal. But it's very simple. The winner of this game gets to claim UT. Just like my alma mater, LSU, plays Clemson to open the season, the winner of that game gets to claim Death Valley.
Death Valley.
Is as simple as that. And if Tennessee loses this game to Texas, they don't get to be the real UT. And if LSU loses this game to Clemson, they don't get to be the real Death Valley. The victors get all of the spoils, in my opinion. But this is a debate that has existed forever. I mean, I've been hearing real UT talk ever since I was born. We've been going
It's
back
regional.
to, without Tennessee, there'd be no Texas type of conversation. And I'm sure in Texas, they're doing the exact same thing. So to the victor, go the spoils. No doubt that the drama is not going anywhere in the SEC just because SEC Media Days is over. We'll take a quick break here, take a look into the sports books. Our friend Ben Fawkes joins the show, breaking down LeBron's next team. Another conversation that's not going anywhere.
My sister told me, be careful what you wish for because you might get it. I did. And now it's about, well, what goals are, what's left on the table? I want Street Fighter to be a massive success. I want to do more Guile, but also I want to do more film. I want to do more TV. There's seats on, on the Georgia political scene that are open. Is that a road? Or is this the road to stay with something I love so much like wrestling? And I love this. I don't know how I'd say bye to it.
Sharks down 10. Third down and 10 from the 19. Edwards steps up. Now he's in trouble. And Edwards sacked. Back at the 17. And once again, it's Devontae O'Malley. And flipped into the end zone. Touchdown. A thing of beauty. DeLaurent for Murray with a late pitch over the top, end over end, and a Pirates touchdown.
If you are a check writer at one of these places that has achieved success historically in college football, and you are ideologically opposed to your check going directly to Rev, to paying the players, with the ideology of, well, we didn't have to do this back when. When you hear we didn't used to have to do this amongst boosters, go ahead and order the gravestone for your football program.
Still Barnes in there. No Jared Ware on this drive yet. Roberts against the blitz. Goes to the end zone for Keon Williams. Easy as you like. 16-yard touchdown.
There's Keon Williams. Tried to go to him in the last drive on that fourth down play to the end zone. Good defense by Orlando, but that time able to shake free to the corner.
There's now been over $210 million traded on the LeBron James next team market at Kalshi. Miami, 46%, is the favorite, with Cleveland at 27% and Golden State behind at 17%. That from our betting insider, Ben Fawkes, who joins us now. Ben, always appreciate you stopping by the program. Break it down for us. How do you view and analyze some of those odds shifts on LeBron James's next team?
Yeah, we were just talking before in the break. I think we're all ready for a conclusion at some point here. But I think with prediction markets, right, these are This is something sportsbooks have offered for a little bit, but it's something you can really see with prediction markets and just the potential changes between those teams. So when this opened back in January, it was very different, right? We had the Cavaliers as kind of a favorite for several months. Eventually it flipped to Golden State kind of in late June. They were the favorite. They went back to the Cavs. They actually got as high as a 60% chance. And then it has now flipped again a week ago or so. And Miami has been the favorite. They've been around 45%, have gotten a little higher. And that's kind of where it stands now. It really has been kind of Miami, Cleveland as the second favorite, Golden State as the third. Throughout this process, just looking at Kalshi, Philadelphia hasn't gotten above 18%, and Minnesota hasn't really gotten above 7%. So again, doesn't mean those couldn't come out and be one of the teams that he chooses. I think what's so interesting about this as well is just this is so much based off of kind of rumor and innuendo, right? So prediction markets, they're just based off of the money that is being traded on this, right? So if somebody really knew something, this would go and it would move, and all of a sudden one team, let's say it was the Heat, would be 50%, 60%, 70%. It would get to a point where it's like, okay, it seems pretty apparent he's going to one team. Just the fact that we've had these favorites kind of flipping back and forth over the past couple of weeks really signals that either A, LeBron doesn't know where he's going yet, B, he is waiting for something or some other move, or C, I think encompassing both, nothing has leaked, right? There hasn't been any information that's out there where it's very clear, like, hey, prediction markets or the sports books are ahead of the general public or Shams in reporting this. I think we really kind of don't know, and that's been reflected in all of this. We now have over $260 million on Kalshi and Polymarket traded on this. It is important to note that that is like the volume. So that's roughly double what it is traded, because if I trade with you $10 and $10, the volume is $20, but really it's just $10 that's kind of wagered. So just something to keep in mind, it's kind of half of that number, not necessarily 200, whatever. But that being said, that still would be the largest amount of money, I believe, at those prediction markets. That's above anything that's been traded on an actual NBA game on those prediction markets. So it just shows kind of the level of money that has been thrown in this market. And right now, it doesn't look like it's ending anytime soon.
Yeah, truly, Ben, you just touched on it. I'd be curious though, if I want to throw a wager, what's the biggest difference with how a sports book versus a prediction market is presenting the next team odds? Would you lean more to a Poly versus like a FanDuel or a DraftKings?
Yeah, so it's interesting kind of how they're offered, right? In that for sports books, they're kind of just making a market. They're essentially reading the same things we're reading. They have all the, reporters on X. They're reading local beat reporters, and they're kind of making a market off of that. They're then setting the odds. They're responding to the money that comes in, and obviously figuring out, hey, is this potentially sharp money that somebody knows something? Is this just somebody betting a lot of money on one side? Prediction markets is a little different because it's kind of a financial instrument. You can theoretically make, or you can make your own market. You can take a market. There's a lot of things you can do, but in essence, you can kind of buy and sell at the price that you want. So there's a lot more flexibility potentially. I think for a casual bettor, it's probably easiest if you want to just stay in the sportsbook space and say, hey, I'm going to pick a team. I know that these are the odds. The prediction market space, I think, is very interesting, but for a casual person, you need a little of a tutorial, I think, before you start wading in to it. And so that's probably what I would recommend. Go to the sports book. Again, if it's offered in certain states, prediction markets, they're generally offered in more states because of how they're regulated. So there are more opportunities there. I would probably, if it's available in your state, pick the team, throw what we say pizza money on it, and see if LeBron ends up going there.
All right, but I want to transition to the NFL because some training camps open up today and I'm getting in the football spirit. Looking back at last year's preseason Super Bowl favorite, it was the Baltimore Ravens at plus 700. Obviously, we know how that season went south, but the Ravens didn't even make the playoffs last year. The preseason Super Bowl favorite, as things stand now, is the Rams at plus 550. Do you think that that's fair? Do you think that's an accurate, depiction of how you think this season may go? Or are the sports books maybe overvaluing the Rams?
So yeah, I think they're definitely overvalued, right? Sports books know that the betting public is going to bet on kind of the news that they saw, right? And that there's been no bigger news in the offseason than the Rams trading for Myles Garrett. Now potentially Aaron Donald could come back. So there's been a lot of this positive news. They obviously traded for Trent McDuffie. They've kind of put together what they're dubbing, right, the super team, potentially. You have Matthew Stafford coming back as an MVP. I think they're the rightful favorites. But in terms of kind of talking to an odds maker as well, even if Aaron Donald came, he wouldn't even move the Rams that much up. He might move them to, let's say, plus 500, plus 450, more for the public perception. They're the highest power rated team by odds makers, which makes sense, but they are in a very difficult division, right? We saw that last year, that division, I believe 3 teams won at least 12 games, the 49ers, the Rams, and the Seahawks. So in the last 30 years, according to Sports Odds history, the Super Bowl favorite has only won the Super Bowl 4 times, right? So the preseason favorite has only actually won the Super Bowl 4 times. That was most recently the Chiefs in 2023, Brady's Patriots 2018, 2016. Then you have to go all the way back to Peyton Manning and that Colts team in 2006. So just because you have all the hype preseason doesn't necessarily mean you get it done. I think there's a lot of smaller concerns around the Rams, right? They're very top heavy. Matthew Stafford, fantastic season last year. There were those back concerns preseason. I'm working on an article right now that'll probably have out in either next week or the week after about the spread difference between the starter and the backup. Stafford is now third. He's the 3rd most valuable quarterback, partially because his backup is Ty Simpson. So we don't know what that would look like if Ty Simpson had to go in there. There's been a lot of stuff off the field with Puka Nacua. And with all that, they're also going to play in Australia week 1. We have no idea what that looks like in terms of travel and recovery. And the schedule is difficult, especially early coming back from Australia. So there's a lot of things there. I think as long as they make the playoffs, they're going to be a team nobody wants to face. But I don't see this as a type of team that's going to roll and go 15-2 or something and walk to the Super Bowl like we saw, let's say, with that 2007 New England Patriots team or something else. I think they're very good. I think they're a tad overvalued in the market because odds makers know people are going to bet on them.
Yeah, let's get some other teams in the mix here, Ben. So the Rams win total is the highest at 11.5. The only other team with that is the Ravens. And then you have a bunch of teams that are stuck at 10.5. The Seahawks, Bills, Bengals, Chiefs, Eagles, Lions, and Patriots. Which of these teams do you think has way too high of a win total and that you're staying away from?
Yeah, so one that I had circled, and again, we can clip this off and I'll look bad in a couple months, is the Chiefs at 10.5. They've had a double-digit win total most of the time under Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. They've only gone 5-3 to the over, obviously went under last season. And it's more just that concern of overall the roster, losing a lot on defense, Mahomes coming back from the injury. I think they'll have a good sense early on. I think they'll play well until that bye. They're favored in their first 4 games. But only 86 of 212 teams since 1990, about 40%, have gone over a double-digit win total. I think the Chiefs, especially with a tough later season schedule, I think they could get close, but I'm still leaning to the under there at 10.5 for them.
Yeah, the Chiefs, no doubt, are kind of an anomaly going into this season. I don't think a lot of people really know what to make of what the Chiefs can be this upcoming year. A lot of questions. He is Ben Fawkes, senior betting analyst right here at Yahoo Sports. He does such a great job of breaking down all things wagering and sports books. So, Ben, thanks so much for stopping by, my friend. We'll catch up with you soon.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Ben Fawkes hanging out here on the program. It is fascinating to me, Justin, quickly before we get out of here, just how much money is being wagered on LeBron James. Everyone is cashing in on this decision. Thanks so much to Justin Walters for hanging out in place of Jason Fitz. He is healing. We send him all of our best well wishes. We will be dark next week, but we'll keep you updated with the biggest stories coming up right here on Yahoo Sports. Don't go anywhere.